Hope you're happy, Rece.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
I really come on here humbled and offering my deepest apologies because when I saw your clip about Keisei Tominaga, I was like, this is my fault. I've let you down, and I just want to offer my sincere apology.
Well, Rece, we would like to let you know you're the first person that we have blamed for not knowing who this is, who has openly come out and said, I'm the one. Because we blame Ty because he's a Big Ten fan, watches Big Ten basketball. How do you not tell us, oh, your Iowa bias is just so strong. You can't tell us about the Japanese Steph Curry. Then we go to Gumpy. Gumpy gambles on basically every college basketball game that exists. And he goes, I should have told you guys that we had a weapon. But I think Gumpy's been profiting potentially off of Keisei Tominaga and didn't want us to know about it. But all roads led back to, I did ask you, like, is there anything... After you mentioned it, is there anything that I should know going into this tournament? And you said a bunch of good stuff, bunch of great stuff. Helped us fill out our bracket, which is going to be the first one that's perfect in the history.
That's right.
You did great. But there was not a mention of, after knowing me, that is who, headband, super positive. Dad's 6'11", former professional basketball player, silky, step backs. He's been shooting over a 7-footer his whole life. So his step back game is going to be insane. I read a story that around his house growing up, his mom and dad put in little mini basketball hoops in every single room. So you'll see some of these layups that he's doing. They're very reminiscent of the highlights that you see of people in their living room doing layups with the mini ball. Like that is literally what he looks like whenever he's in the paint. This dude, do they have a chance? Do they have a single chance? Right there. That's a mini ball hoop. That is a move. That is literally a mini ball with a mini ball hoop move. And do they have a chance here? He just has to get ridiculously hot? Are they one of the teams that can do that, or do they not have enough firepower? That's probably why I didn't know about Keisei Tominaga to begin with.
No, I think they've got a chance, particularly in their first game, because they're playing a team that's physical, rugged, tough in Texas A&M, but they don't shoot it very well. So, if Keisei and, Rink Mast and Bryce Williams, this is a team they have a lot of guys that can make threes. They get hot from the outside. A&M played very well in the SEC tournament, but over the course of the season, they don't shoot it well from anywhere. What they do is they grab misses at a highly effective rate. But no, I think they definitely have a chance against Texas A&M, and that will be fun to keep him going.
All right, last question from me before the boys have some, and I know we got 2 more playing games this evening. We watched Virginia last night just not be able to play basketball. Like, just not. It was bad. It was bad. I saw that the one shirt was awesome. Virginia basketball is Iowa football. And Ty was, like, disgusted by that. Virginia won a national championship a couple years ago. Iowa's nowhere close. It's like, I think what he's saying is there's no offense. We have no idea how to do the sport that we are playing in a offensive fashion. Is there any more of those? Like tonight, should we be looking out for a team that absolutely stinks that snuck their way in? And how did Indiana State get left out, but Virginia has a chance to do what they did last night? Is that an okay comparison for casual outside looking in?
There are a few other offensively challenged teams for sure in the tournament, maybe not to the degree that Virginia has been. And I want to be consistent because I always say that selection is not indicative of performance, or one doesn't validate or invalidate the other. But I think a lot of people felt like that, despite the fact that Virginia had a little bit going on its resume, that if you watch them play, they didn't look like a tournament team this year. They had multiple games where they got blown out, multiple games where they didn't get to 50 points. Now, to their credit, they found ways to win games, and they finished 3rd in the ACC, if memory serves. But I didn't think they were a tournament team, and they sort of didn't look like one last night.
All right, well, we appreciate you speaking the truth, because Kareem Abdul-Jabbar will be in here on Thursday.
Yeah. What?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
Full uni.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
We want him to showcase what everybody missed, because I don't know how many people saw as many Indiana State Sycamore games as they should have. But what you saw Virginia do last night, wait until you see Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Larry Nerd do his thing in here. Okay? He's going to go bananas from the elbow.
Oh, yeah.
We're even going to set up some place for him to do no-look passes.
Boom. Like that.
Yeah. We're trying to get unis before then, too, so we can be all in our baby blues.
Have to.
But I am I was excited March Madness got started last night. I'm like, all right, playing games, something to watch here. Where the hell is True TV?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, let me find True TV. All right, let me do this. All right, I'm on there. Is this True TV West or East? Who cares? I guess they're both playing. And there's going to be a lot of that. And then literally all I could think of for that second game was just like, how's this team in the tournament?
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
I just heard a bunch of teams bitch. It's going to be a good tournament, right? We got a good tournament?
It will be. We've had the entire season of massive upsets and so forth. It's going to be fun. There'll be a lot of. There will be better ball than last night.
Okay, that's great news. Conman's got a question for you about that.
Yeah, Rece, obviously you just came on and we asked questions, but who knows if you were even telling us the truth, so I'm just going to run it back with another one. Aside from Tominaga, who is clearly the superstar of March going forward, if Nebraska can get it done, is there like a Jimmer Fredette-esque shooter in this March that we're going to see from some random school a la BYU where there's just one guy pulling up from all over the place, or is there not really that kind of superstar player in this March Madness?
No, I think there are a couple of guys that come to mind. One, I'm sure Ty knows very well from Illinois, Terrence Shannon.
Very good.
Who put 36 on in the championship game, I believe, for Illinois, and had 40 maybe against Tominaga and Nebraska. I don't think I have that juxtaposed, but 76 in 2 games. And then most people know about Dalton Connect from Tennessee, who's had some 40-point games and is kind of a shooter without a conscience, can also drive. So I think those are a couple of guys who jump off the page to me. They are on highly seeded teams, but those are the first 2 that come to mind. Of guys who could load up a team on their back like Kemba Walker did several years ago.
Or Joe Alexander from West Virginia a couple decades back. You know how he got hey, he got himself in the lottery during March Madness. And I was at the same time friends with Joe. So like watching that'll take place, I'm like, okay, this is what March Madness is.
Yeah.
But it's not always like that. I guess it's not every single year somebody just propels themselves. This Keisei Tominaga.
Look out.
He's the one. He's the one. Go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, Rece, you mentioned how the field's kind of more wide open this year. Obviously, with UMBC and then last year FDU, we've seen, a couple 1 seeds go down. In your opinion, which 1 or 2 seed do you think is most susceptible to upset in the first round?
I mean, I know this is not the answer you want to hear. I'm going to say none of them in the first round.
That's a good answer.
There's no reason for those games to happen. UMBC and Fairleigh Dickinson, if you just can't see those coming. But sports, sometimes people. Bob Knight always used to say dumb loses more than smart wins. So you can never underestimate, people getting tight, people panicking a little, and then blowing a game they have no reason to lose. Probably the 1 seed that, even though they're toughest, I think vulnerable earliest, would be Houston, because they don't have a lot of different options offensively, and we saw that play out in the Iowa State game on Saturday.
Who's coach there?
Kelvin Sampson.
Kelvin Sampson.
Oh, yeah, Sam.
Yeah.
He's been around a long time.
I mean, look, they're really good, and they play harder than just about anybody. They're a great defensive team, offensive rebounding team, but they only have a couple of shooters. And if a guy goes cold, they can have trouble scoring.
That's Beeline's West Virginia team there.
Yeah.
We used to huck up threes, and then you run into a small rim one night. It's over.
Yeah.
It is over. Pac-Man's got a question for you, Rece.
Hey, Rece, I got the show Undercover Dog. Which team would you pick and say that's the undercover dog for the bracket?
I think I mentioned this the other day. I've got New Mexico going to the Elite Eight. I like them. And a couple of teams I think people have given up on a little bit, big name teams, but they've seen some flaws. Duke and Kentucky. Kentucky's as good an offensive team as there is in the tournament, but they often choose defense to be optional and don't even get in the way sometimes on straight line drives. But man, can they score. And I think Duke hasn't played to his capabilities the last couple of games, and they might want to rectify that, and they're certainly capable if they play. Those are a couple teams, 3-4 seed line that I think could make the final.
Pac-Man Jones cannot be putting Filipowski on undercover.
No, he can't.
No, he can't. He is not.
With everything that happened.
Nope.
Yeah, he's not undercover dog.
That cannot.
No.
I mean, that windmill dunk was pretty sick.
That was sick.
It was.
That was pretty sick, though.
Kind of ruined, though.
A little bit of a dog, but the week before it was like.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I was
Jay
glad
Billis
he
wants
was
to
okay
arrest
so quickly. I think we were all glad he was
Undercover,
okay so quickly, weren't we?
Guy's got Wolverine blood.
Yeah, he does.
Just like Russell Wilson.
That's right.
I mean, it's a fantastic thing. Let's pivot away from basketball now that we have you, because massive news dropped yesterday. Go ahead, Tone.
Yeah, Rece, I know it's basketball season and tournament time, so I'm not sure if you heard this or not, but this program broke some pretty massive news yesterday when you're talking about the King of Kings, and that's football. And the news yesterday was that I believe ESPN paid $7.8 billion or something around that number for all college football playoff games, I think till 2031, 2032. How do you feel about it? That's huge, obviously, for Game Day, for this show, for all ESPN shows. What's your thoughts on it?
Absolutely thrilled.
Yeah. Me too, Rece. Me too.
Football drives the boat. It's fantastic, man. It's going to be so much fun. And to be able to extend that to having playoff games on campus, and then for us to have all of them, I'm thrilled to death about it. Really excited about that.
Well, that's what
I
said yesterday whenever we were talking about it as it was kind of unfolding. Like, I don't think people understand enough that the humans that work in the college football world, and now we got dropped right in there a couple years ago. I said this as it was happening. But like behind the scenes, there's people that literally their blood is college football.
Yes.
Like that, you know, been doing it for like 30 years. Like I think ESPN, I went to a seminar a couple years back about the amount of pride that ESPN has that it's associated with college football. And like, here's these schools, here's traditions, here's what happens, here's why you need to appreciate this, here's some of this. It's like, I don't think people fully understand that because, you know, in our hot take world that we're in, you know, in conversational, in judgment world that we're in, you know, I saw a lot of people's reaction to our announcement of this thing being like, oh, great, Florida State's never getting in because Kirk Herbstreit doesn't like Florida State. Oh, great, ESPN's going to be picking. It's like, ESPN doesn't make the rules of the sport. ESPN is not the ones that are in the room making the decisions, just like at the NFL. But ESPN now does have, you know, a lot of, you know, connections with college football, even more so as we get into that. There's some people that don't love that. Is that just how it's always been? Or what do you think, Rece? You've been around longer than me.
You know, I think that part of it has changed a little bit over the years, Pat. I think you're right on it about that. It used to be that, you know, people didn't associate the conferences and who got into bowl games and so forth necessarily with the television networks, or they didn't blame us or Fox for teams moving from one conference to the other. And, you know, I think there's a misconception that all of it's being orchestrated by, you know, someone behind a curtain. That's just not the way it is. I think.
Yeah, but that's how you would say if it was being. That's what, there's a never ending.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely. But I do think now the one thing that people ought to understand is with the exception of the Big Ten, ESPN had contracts with the ACC all the way through. We want the best teams to get there, so we have the best games, so we have the best product. And, you know, beyond that, you know, the conferences, the schools have to work all of this out for themselves. We're in the television business. You know, we want the best inventory to put on TV, and we're fortunate that it worked out that we're going to continue with the college football playoff. College
football is amazing because of the amount of passion that their fans have on it. That's been the coolest part of it all. Now, I've been on the receiving end of it.
Sure.
You know, and I've thrown myself into the, you know what? Yeah, I am going to say this. And without even knowing, just walk right into a pool of like, yep, this guy's the biggest dipshit that's ever had a microphone by an entire alumni group, you know? But that's what makes college football so beautiful. And I think what isn't talked about enough is how behind the scenes, all the people that run all the college game day folks, the college football live stuff, the college football games, like those people are obsessed with the sport of college football, obsessed with the pageantry, the passion and everything. So I'm certainly pumped that it's staying at ESPN, especially with the relationship we have with you. This certainly benefits us.
Incredible.
Absolutely.
In a beautiful way. So we're excited about it as well. And I think, Rece, you're the right man to be hosting the biggest institution show for college football that has just been mightily invested in by Disney and ESPN. But let's talk about a new edition that's coming. I got a chance to see some of the clips of you on Dan Patrick yesterday. And Dan Patrick, obviously OG, he asked you a question. You know, you two guys, similar hosts in the role of what you got to do, how you got to handle things, with Nick Saban joining the party. Now, this is fascinating. I don't think you and I have got to talk about this much because you've been in the middle of basketball season. We've been doing what we're doing. There was an awesome celebratory, hey, Nick Saban's part of Game Day. That's great news that the greatest coach of all time is now a part of a show that's hopefully going to be able to continue to cover college football as it transitions here. And we're going to be able to hear, like, there's a lot of things Nick Saban's going to say where me and a lot of people are going to be like, okay, that's my opinion now.
Yeah.
You know, like that is my opinion now because Nick Saban's there. And he was talking about how are you going to host with Nick Saban and talking about how it's not just like a Q&A with Nick Saban. He's now the host in that. Have you talked to Coach Saban at all about being a TV host now and what he's signing up for and what it looks like? Has there been any of that between you two, as I know you're an Alabama man and pretty close to him and his family?
We've talked a little bit broadly. I told him, I saw him when we were down for College Game Day basketball at Alabama a few weeks ago that, I hope to get together with him this summer and maybe actually learn mostly from him about watching tape. And, maybe we'll watch some shows together. But I think, what Dan brought up yesterday is really important that we can ask him questions, obviously, but that he becomes part of the conversation. I think he's pretty good at that. And I really think that the relationship that you have with him and the back and forth that you've had on the show is going to help facilitate that a lot. And, if he disagrees with us or if you guys disagree with him, I mean, how I've always phrased it is this way. Like if I'm arguing with you about, a kicker's plant foot or the way a punt was covered, yeah. I'm outside of my lane and I shouldn't do that. But you and I can argue all day long about whether a team should have gone for it on fourth down, whether they should have passed, whether this quarterback should be playing instead of that one. That type of thing I think is fair game. There will be things that Nick has that might be outside of our purview that maybe we do acquiesce a little bit. But then there are things when you can say, you know what? Look, I'm Pat McAfee All-Pro. I don't think you're right about this, and that's a perfectly valid way to look at it. And he can do the same to us.
Hey, Nick, I've been nominated Hall of Fame twice.
How about that?
Okay. Only
there you go.
8 years. Only played 8 years. So you tell me, do they feel obligated to nominate me every year? Probably. But that's neither here nor there, Nick, okay? The amount of times I'm going to say, what do you know, to Nick Saban? Yeah. I cannot wait. That's going to be like, there's going to be a 7 a.m., before the show starts, in that little production meeting, there's going to be some bickering about something going on back and forth, and I'm just going to listen to Nick say something. What do you know, old man? And just walk by and just be like, yes. How many times am I going to say, Nick Saban, this guy. I can't wait. It should be a blast.